thank you very much for sitting with us in this brief little interview. Let us talk about the development or the enhancement of the arts craft culture sector that comes under your remit. I know you would have said a lot during your budget presentation. Can you just take us a little bit back to emphasis on this particular sector? What are some of the plans for advancement? Maybe encouraging Guyanese now to put a little more focus on this area.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to have this interview, and secondly, thank you for welcoming me this afternoon. With regards to our culture and our art, we do have some strategies that we have in plan and we expect to execute during the last 4 months of this budget year. One of the areas that we are going to be working in is policy development, and that is policy as it relates to crafting a strategic direction for culture and arts for the next 5 years for all categories of artists. That, of course, would include film, songwriting, drama, music, and the whole range. Another area that we would like to focus on also would be that of capacity building. So we're going to work with our young people, first of all, to do some more exposures to the extent that we can afford those exposure, whether it be locally, regionally, or internationally. As you probably are aware, we sent a 80 plus delegation to CARIFESTA 12 in Haiti. Given the fact that we are a resource limited setting, and it costs us in the vicinity of $60 million, that speaks to the level of investment we are prepared to make in the area of our art and culture. And from the reviews I've gotten, there seem to be an overwhelming positive response to Guyanese art and culture. And so to the extent that we can afford, we would want to expose people because that certainly helps to build capacity. Training opportunity is also another area we would have to look at to see if we can have people train in specialized areas, perhaps in the field of music, perhaps in sculpture, pottery, whatever it is, so that we can train trainers who will work with our people and develop the arts and culture industry, as if I were to call it that, here in Guyana. And so during my presentation in the budget debate, I took the time to talk a little about Guyana's 50th independence anniversary, which somehow I feel it's really connected to our arts and our culture, because that will provide our artists here with the opportunity to showcase their work and their talent and their skills, not only to us here, but to the entire world, because as you know, that is going to be a really large event.
What about development of this area at the school, secondary school, maybe primary, secondary school level, in terms of fostering more students' involvement in the arts and culture?
Well, actually, as you may have heard, Minister Ruknarayan would have been making a lot of public call to parents and to members of the community to get involved in music as part of development in education. We're going to integrate music into our formal school structure and curriculum here, so that students will be exposed more to music and experience music in school. There'll be opportunities, of course, for those that want to take it up on an academic level, because the CSEC provides that type of opportunity at the secondary level. And as you know, there is always that opportunity at higher and tertiary level for music.
You mentioned capacity building. Specifically, what are we talking about?
Well, capacity building is really strengthening the people who are the artists' abilities an aptitude, as it were, to perform in the specific field. And so you can achieve capacity building through exposing people to different environments that are doing the same type of training so that they can see firsthand how it's done differently and make those adaptations. Sometimes you expose them to what we call best practices, and more recently I've begun to say good practices because I'm not sure it's the best always, but sometimes things that would have worked well, you would want to expose them. And so you would engage in mechanisms such as twinning and site visits and mentoring programs. And then there's the more academic approach where you would get like scholarships and stints in a different setting, and you probably come back with qualification, having been exposed in the field, whatever is your area of expertise. And of course, there's also mentorship in your place of work with people who are more senior, who are more exposed, so that you can learn. So there are various ways in which you can build people's capacity. And we're not limited to any particular area. We're going to use a very cross-cutting approach to capacity building, and that, of course, would include, but not be limited to, the strategies I've just discussed.
What about collaboration with maybe agencies already established, NGOs or semi-autonomous agencies in terms of enhancing this kind of work?
Well, for any development, we call it PPP, public-private partnership. Oh, that goes a long way. And so there is value in that. I would have spoken at other times on the issues of strengthening whatever you do with regards to development using partnership. And so we intend, of course, to strengthen relationships with specific organizations that would have the requisite buy-in, as it were, in the area of arts and culture. So all stakeholders need to come together and develop that partnership, because I think that is one of the easiest and best way of having everybody on the same sheet of music, as it were, and also it allows to build capacity too.
Minister, what about, for example, before the team went to Carifesta, I know there was a show, well, a display of what they're going to present at Theatre Guild. Can we see, maybe in the near future, or not so far away, more public displays, for that matter, to show others, Guyanese here, maybe abroad, of what are the various aspects of arts and culture that we have, and just not wait for an event, for example, the 50th anniversary celebrations, to see some of what we really have and maybe what we need to work on in making it better.
I agree with you, and I would also want to say that to some extent, a lot of what we do from time to time we would showcase, but it's more coming together in a comprehensive way and more holistic way, and having a big event as in this case. I think there are opportunities for that. We can explore that. I couldn't commit to say it was going to be next week or next year or next month, but we're definitely going to work to see how we can have that type of event, to be featured on our calendar of activities for the year as it relates to our culture and our art.
Any other highlight from the sector that you wish to bring to the public's attention?
Well, except to say they did a great job with Carifesta, I understand, and they continue to make Guyana proud, and I would like to invite other artists, those who perhaps wanted to go to Carifesta this year and didn't get a chance, to understand that don't close the door on yourself and your possibilities. They're endless, and there'll be many opportunities to showcase your talent and your skill. And I welcome engagement as far as possible with persons in the field of our art and our culture.
In terms of encouraging the members or the various artists and performers in the arts and culture sector, in terms of their performance or the display of their talents at the 50th anniversary. How do you see this boosting that area, that sector, in terms of the arts and the culture?
But what it does, for one, it certainly would allow for some sort of talent spotting, because once you're able to showcase, you would recognize those performances that would be superior, cut above the other. And so you can work on those to see if we can have, artists at a higher level, and kind of raise the bar as it relates to that. It provides that type of opportunity. It also provides us with an opportunity to see where we are as a country as it relates to arts and culture, and to allow us to assess where we are as a people and as a country, and to recognize what are the gaps and where we need to focus our energies and our efforts in the area of arts and culture. So it's a great opportunity, and I encourage artists to take full advantage of the opportunity that Guyana's 50th will present to them.
Is this an invitation I'm hearing? Is this an invitation for talent groups and performers and those in the arts and culture sector to come forward and present themselves, maybe to the committee, to your ministry, or those planning this 50th anniversary celebration?
Well, by extension it is, but I also have to point out to you that a secretariat will be responsible for the execution of the activities related to the 50th anniversary, and we're going to have a website, and we're going to have advertisements so that we can invite various groups at various times, whether it's to audition or whatever it is. And therefore, we would pick the pieces that we would want to showcase coming out of that competitive process. So the call is out now, but of course, you'd have to wait on the formal invitation as it relates to each specific category.
Finally, Minister, where do you see arts and culture? I know there's a lot of talk about 2020, Vision 2020, but where do you see arts and culture, this particular area, maybe into a modern setting, into a more advanced setting, the enhancement? Where do you see as the minister under which that falls?
Well, I see us, I recognize that first of all, we have ways to go, and so there's a lot of area for growth and for development. And so in the next 5 years, as it were, I expect to see a much more modern and robust arts and culture sector here in Guyana. We haven't, as I said, policy development is one of the areas of strategic approach, and therefore coming out of that broad consultation with a variety of stakeholders, I'll better be able to have a defined path and a vision that will take us for the next 5 years. I couldn't do it in isolation as the minister. So until I would have such consultation and benefit, of course, from the views of the stakeholders, I'll be, in a much more informed position to speak as to what Guyana will look like in the next 5 years as it relates to art and culture.
I'm sorry, but I know I said that was the final, but can I ask you, I'm not too sure if you have any info, with regard preparations, if any, for Mashramani 2016?
Well, first of all, I suspect I would have seen this in the press. As you know, Mashramani 2016 would be scaled down because of Guyana's 50th being observed next year. So the celebration part of that will more take place in May. For instance, as part of the 50th anniversary, we're going to have some of the traditional activities that occurred during February occurring in May of 2016. So it's more of a deferral of the celebration part of it to occur and coincide with that big celebration that Guyana will be observing.
So, despite rumors and allegations, criticisms from various sections of society, this new AP and new AFC government is by no way taking away Mashramani.
No, Mashramani is here we will observe Mashramani, and we'll have flag raising and that type of activities next year um, in February to observe Mashramani. So yes.
Because I heard there's some criticisms about the government taking away the whole celebration of Mashramani and scaling it down to maybe just, I don't know, maybe the national occurrences, or because that's the kind of thing you're hearing, and people are concerned as to whether it is indeed MASH is going to be something else than what it usually is, what they're accustomed to. And that's why I wanted you to clear that up.
Well, thanks so much for your question. With change, obviously, there's always going to be, a difference in the way things are done and executed, and Mashramani will be one of those that we, at least in 2016, will have a different approach. As I said before, given Guyana's big celebration for its 50th in May of 2016, we thought that we would centralize all the activities around that. And so that you could really invest the limited resources, as it were, to focus on one high impact activity than to really stretch it thin and to have, fragment here and fragment. So it's a more holistic rather than fragmented approach to that.
It's more of a national approach.
Well, of course it is. And as you know, the budget this year is under the theme, a fresh approach to a good life in a green economy, and that's part of the fresh approach concept.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Welcome.